We'll bring on our panelists for this hour. Today, we're pleased to have Bobby Eberle, Republican strategist. He's also the host of the 13-Minute News Hour. We also have Jessie Jane Duff, Gunnery Sergeant for the U.S. Marine Corps, Newsmax contributor. Good to see both of you here, and thanks so much for coming on. Bobby, I'll start with you on this one here. Crime surging nationwide, brand new year for the Biden administration. Many people want hope moving forward. Right. But the Congresswoman laid out that they're doubling down, Democrats are, on the strategy already implemented in place.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's just shocking is that Biden has only been there a year. It seems like forever. The American people have become worn down from Biden's policies. I mean, Build Back Better, they're destroying the country in just a year. And you see it on issue after issue. The Congresswoman summed it up great. American people want a change. They want something different. And I tell you what, policy aside, this guy was hailed by the media as some kind of great uniter, and all he's done is divide. He pressured big tech to silence a great majority of the people. He's gone out and called them racist if you don't believe in a federal takeover of elections. On and on he tries to divide, and I guarantee that is sinking in as much as the policies, and people want to change.
Jessie Jane Duff, the president did say at his press briefing that he would change his appearance, if you will, with America, and that he would be traveling more. He would get out of the White House more and be face-to-face with the American people. Do you buy that?
No, I think my facial expressions show absolute skepticism. This man couldn't even campaign for himself. They kept him out of sight as much as possible because they did not want to demonstrate his inability to communicate with regular people, so to speak. We cannot forget that any attendance record he probably had was no more than 20 people at any of his events, or horn honking. People never got close to this man, and he has never gotten close to the American people. But let's also reflect upon what Elise Stefanik has said. She is on top of this. She's America first all the way. And what makes me so impressed with leaders like her is she is not going to stop pounding these Democrats for their hypocrisy. The voting rights is implying that people do not have a right to vote in this country. That is an absolute lie. The 1965 Voting Rights Bill and law is still in place. And all you got to do is look it up. It says you cannot deny people the right to vote based upon color. They are spreading a lie of disinformation to confuse people and get mail-in ballots so they can cheat. They don't want voter ID simply because they want to cheat. But you better have that COVID card.
And the ID that comes with it if you want to dine in New York City. Panelists, we're ready to roll here. Hour with you. Stick around.
Let's bring back in our panelists, Bobby Eberle and Jessie Jane Duff, to get their take on this as well. You know, Bobby, during a press conference just earlier this week, the president was not asked about this hostage situation, nor was he asked specifically about the safety of Americans and their right to practice their religion without fear of being taken hostage or being under attack. Were you disappointed in the fact that that didn't come up? And should the president have done more to address the situation?
Well, I was disappointed but not surprised, because you see this, if it doesn't fit the narrative of the oppressed group of the day, then they won't talk about it. And we see these attacks increasing. We see that the FBI, they might be aware, as you alluded in your intro, but what are they doing? Are they taking it seriously? Are they on that situational awareness where if it were a mosque or something else that fits in the narrative that gets more TV coverage, what would they be doing differently? That's a big question to ask, because the rabbi is right. We see this happening and everyone turns the other way. And the other thing that's important is the mixed message that's coming out of the Democrat Party, where they say they support the Jewish community, yet representative after representative or spokesman after spokesman keeps blasting Israel, keeps blasting the Jewish community, and claiming this Islamophobia, which is nowhere near what's really going on.
Yeah, you make a good point there. You know, Jessie Jane, you wonder where the priorities of members of the FBI are right now. What's on their radar, and why are they missing this particular instance of terror?
Because, you know, we look at the FBI as having an extreme focus on tracking everybody down on social media from January 6th. How long were they posting photos of people that were out there on January 6th? I mean, close to a year. You know, it just seemed, it was outrageous that they were so aggressive on pursuing something like that. But on this, the rabbi made a very good point. You don't see fences around Christian churches or mosques, but yet you do see fences around the Jewish synagogues for the obvious fact that they have faced so much harassment. It was not any confusing issue for any American to know why that man went in there. He made it very clear what his agenda was. And to suggest that we are phobiatic of people who are trying to kill us is now watering down our law enforcement so that they are not reacting in the appropriate way and as aggressively as they should. So shame on the FBI for being slow to the table on this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, panelists, if you could, stay with us. Still more to cover. All right, our panelist standing by, Bobby Eberle, he's been listening alongside this conversation, and Bobby, seeing the crowds as well. And if you could, just share your thoughts on what you think this movement means and where you think it might be headed.
Well, I love it. There was a guest earlier who said, you know, he's here and he's excited because he thinks that this might be the last march. That you can't emphasize enough how important this is. With this decision coming down, it could change the whole face of America as far as life. And I just want to reemphasize what Pope Francis has said, that this is the first right. If we take it to an American perspective, Thomas Jefferson in the Declaration of Independence, when he's listing, you know, among some unalienable rights, what's the first one he said? Life. We have a fundamental right to life. And all of these people out there just inspire me to continue to talk about this because it's such a great movement. It's such a great cause. This is the slavery movement of our day. Ending slavery, we saw that happen. I want to see the protection of every innocent human life. And we're on the verge. We're right there on the doorsteps. And in June, we could see it happen.
And we will continue to follow. Again, any updates, as Lindsay was pointing out, as we progress towards June with that decision coming down from SCOTUS, that will be a major development in this effort here, of course, as we still see that live look at the crowd there. Bobby, let's focus on the future here. We're officially year 2 into the Biden administration. I want to get your take on where we're really headed. But first, here's Time Magazine's cover. This is a look back at the president's first year in office. Control room, if we're able to provide that. There we go. You see it on your screen here. Oh, yeah. It's actually not so positive. Again, this coming from Time Magazine, taking a look back at President Biden here. You see the books on his desk, Putin, a look back at Trump and voting rights as well, a storm cloud over his head, COVID in the background. This was year 1 of Trump in the White House, according to Time Magazine as well, perhaps up in flames. So I'm sensing a weather theme here with Time Magazine. But what do you make of this decision to categorize Joe Biden in this light?
Yeah, well, Emma, let me just say, that was the first time I've seen the cover. When you put that up there, I'm cracking up because I'm a little surprised, you know, but we see this trend in general. If I can mention, Van Jones on CNN talked about Biden's press conference as foggy and meandering. He's losing part of the media. They'll never bail on him completely, but he's losing part of them because this year has been so bad. And it's both been on the policy front and as we talked about, just this divisiveness where people, I guarantee one of the reasons they bought into Biden, even some so-called Republicans, is because they said Trump was too divisive. His tweets were too mean. Biden's going to bring the country together, and he divides on every turn. I see more of the same. And you guys mentioned that he's going to go out more. Can you imagine all the mops the crew has to bring out to clean up the mess that Biden's going to make with more public statements? I know they're dreading it, but maybe that's what they have to do.
He says he's going to get back on the campaign trail ahead of the midterms. We can pop those images back up because I want to get Jesse Jane's take on these covers as well. Again, Jesse Jane, you know, Time Magazine, they never held back criticism for Donald Trump, but it is interesting to note that they are offering their critique of Joe Biden.
See that because it does give me a little bit of optimism that the media has recognized that they've really gotten this wrong, and now they're trying to regain credibility, because if you lose 50% of your American population on viewership or buying your magazine or reading your articles, you can't sustain yourself. They're starting to recognize that Americans aren't buying it. The hair on fire was rather interesting. I don't necessarily take that as an insult because I look at it as burned the Washington establishment. He woke America up, and he did it aggressively. Yes, it wasn't appreciated, it wasn't welcomed, and now you got Joe Biden over here just meandering in the smoke, and nobody's getting a clear message, and they recognize Trump actually brought out what Americans needed to see. I'm not justifying that cover, but I'm looking at it from another angle.
Okay.
This is exactly what we need. We need somebody that burned up that establishment and started over, and now Americans appreciate it because now you have this supposed guy who is supposed to be the uniter in chief, and he's done nothing to bring the United States together. In fact, it's more divisive than ever. But Time Magazine, at least you got this one a lot more correct, and let's be fair in our reporting because Joe Biden's done nothing right for this country, and we all see that.
All right, a number of crises you just cannot ignore. Bobby Eberle, Jessie Jane Duff, panelists, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so we've got an update on a story we told you earlier.
All right, friends, thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button above. Once you do, tell your friends, share it, spread the word about the 13-minute news hour so we can keep growing. And for more great content, check out these videos right here, and I'll see you next time.